They told you the danger was the drug. They showed you the substance, the addiction, the fall. But what if that's not the truth? What if the real addiction started long before the first hit? The root of obsession is never the drug, it's the void inside. The history of smoking dates back to as early as 5000 BC in the Americas in shamanistic rituals. With the arrival of the Europeans in the 16th century, the consumption, cultivation, and trading of tobacco quickly spread. The modernization of farming equipment and manufacturing increased the availability of cigarettes following the Reconstruction era in the United States. Mass production quickly expanded the scope of consumption, which grew throughout the mid-20th century, until the scientific controversies of the 1960s and condemnation in the 1980s changed public perception forever. In Eurasia, cannabis was common before the arrival of tobacco and is known to have been used since at least 5000 BC. Cannabis was not commonly smoked directly until tobacco came into widespread use in the 16th century. Before this, cannabis and numerous other plants were vaporized on hot rocks or charcoal, burned as incense or in vessels and censers, and inhaled indirectly. Evidence of direct smoking before the 16th century is contentious, with pipes thought to have been used to smoke cannabis, dated to the 10th to 12th centuries, found in southeastern Africa. Previously eaten for its medicinal properties, opium smoking became widespread in China and the West during the 19th century. These led to the establishment of opium dens. In the latter half of the century, opium smoking became popular in the artistic communities of Europe, while opium dens continued to exist throughout the world. The trend among the Europeans abated during the First World War, and among the Chinese during the Mao regime. More widespread cigarette usage during the early 20th century changed the social landscape significantly, as well as increased life expectancy during the 1920s. These factors made adverse health effects much more noticeable to the medical community. In 1929, Fritz Lichen of Dresden, Germany, took a stand. He published formal statistical evidence of a clear cancer-tobacco link. However, for a long time, the subject remained largely taboo, ignored by many in power. The silence broke in 1954 with the publication of the British Doctor's Study. This research provided undeniable data on the risks associated with smoking. Then, in 1964, came the landmark United States Surgeon General's report. This official recognition signaled a turning point for public health in America. Over the following decades, tobacco became increasingly stigmatized, public perception shifted, and legal pressures began to mount against the industry, which led to the largest civil settlement in United States history, the Tobacco Master Settlement. Agreement was reached in 1998. This agreement fundamentally changed how tobacco products are marketed and regulated today. Smoking has been practiced in one form or another since ancient times. Tobacco and various hallucinogenic drugs were smoked all over the Americas as early as 5000 BC in shamanistic rituals, and originated in the Peruvian and Ecuadorian Andes. Many ancient civilizations, such as the Babylonians, Indians, and Chinese, burnt incense as a part of religious rituals, as did the Israelites and the later Catholic and Orthodox churches. However, the burning of incense is not direct inhalation. It has been suggested that cannabis resin, or possibly opium, was at times included in this incense. It is unknown how much resin this incense would have contained, or if it came from psychoactive types of cannabis or opium. The ancient Assyrians employed cannabis fumes as a cure for poison of the limbs, presumed to mean arthritis. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote that the Scythians vaporized cannabis seeds as part of their cultural rituals. They make a booth, placing red-hot stones and adding hemp seed. It begins to smoke, giving off a vapor. The Scythians delighted and shout for joy. They had constructed a sweat lodge used ritualistically. Sergei Ivanovich Rudenko excavated a Scythian burial site at Pazyryk in the Tian Shan Mountains. A leather pouch containing cannabis and coriander seeds was likely vaporized to create a thick, fragrant smoke. Robicsek posits that smoking in the Americas probably originated in incense-burning ceremonies and was later adopted for pleasure. The Maya employed it, and the Aztecs included it in their mythology. The Aztec goddess Cihuacoatl had a body consisting of tobacco, and priests wore tobacco gourds as symbols of divinity. The smoking of tobacco and hallucinogenic drugs was used to achieve trances and to come into contact with the spirit world. Reports from early European explorers tell of rituals where native priests smoked themselves into high degrees of intoxication. In early North America, the most common form of smoking was in pipes, for social or religious purposes, sometimes as a gesture of goodwill, diplomacy, or to seal a peace treaty. In the Caribbean and South America, early forms of cigarettes, smoking reeds or cigars, were the most common tools. Smoking is depicted as early as the 9th century, though it is not known whether it was limited to just the upper class, after Europeans arrived in the late 15th century. Tobacco smoking as a recreational activity became widespread at the banquets of Aztec nobles. Smoking tubes were passed and at the end, given as alms or rewards. For baked clay pipes found in Zambia, dated to the 10th century, and containers contained trace amounts of THC. These reports are controversial as they predate European exploration. This challenges the supposed first introduction of tobacco, pipes, and smoking into Eurasia. You can destroy the substance, you can fight the habit, run from the addiction. But if you never face what's inside, it will find another way back in. Because the root of obsession was never the drug, it was the void inside.